Hi, this is Paul Inchton on the channel in regards to my buddy builder switcher on the World War One female Mark 4. And switcher's had a smashing update earlier on, showing his with the decals on and his first filter in place. And I was envious of that because of all those German decals that took over nuts and bolts and God knows what, and he really did a fantastic job getting to lay them really well. I was luckier with most of my decals. They all had flat surfaces to go on, apart from the one that's on the top of the driver's hatch. And what I had to do is to do a bit of hand painting. I'll just move around slightly. I had to do some hand painting to get it to go. So what I used was some Tamiya yellow tape, the bigger one of the ones they do in the clear packets. I don't know if I've got one here. No, I haven't, no. It's in the other room. But basically, you know the Tamiya stuff, it's in a thick, it's about 3/4 of an inch wide. I cut 2 inches of that, stuck it onto my cutting mat, and then I drew the numbers, the F, the dot and the 4 on there, and then used a sharp scalpel to cut them out, so I had stencils. The hardest figure was to do was a 4, because you have to have that triangular shape in the middle of the 4 that's the same shape as you can see there on the side of the vehicle. Now the nice little stencils didn't actually go down very well, obviously, because they would only stick flat in some areas. So as I was doing a paintbrush and not a spray, it wasn't going to be too much of a problem. So I got the smallest brush I had, mixed with Insignia white paint. Where is it? I've got it here somewhere. Let's have a look. I'll put it back on the rack now. Here we go. It's called Stencil, and it's Panzer Aces. It's 3. There you can see that. Yeah, it's 313, and it's a perfect match for the actual decal white that was on the other numbers. So I had a really good match there. And then I had to hand paint carefully. And as I'd done each one, wait for it, blew on it to get it dry a bit quick. Done about 2 coats, 3 coats. I think it's 3 actually. Thin coats on the numbers. Then peeled the actual masking tape off, or the stencil as I look cool because I made stencils, pull them off, and I had to tidy up some edges, and this is what I got left with. And if I can just manhandle this a little bit and hopefully it's staying in focus, excuse me doing this, and I ended up with that. That's what I ended up. There you go. Don't know if that's any good. Yeah, as near as I'm going to get it, and that's what I ended up with. So it came out really well, considering it was all done by hand. There you go. Put it back on there. Get it back on there. There you go. Right, so that was that. So doing the decal, as I said, was a bit of a pain, but we got there in the end. So there you go. I'm going to bring it around to the front. You can see the number on the top. It looks quite nice. Now, the next thing I did, once I'd done the decals, and before I painted that, I actually satin varnished over the veers, where you can see a slight sheen to the paint. And I want to leave that there because I think it's nice and it makes a bit of difference. As Switch was talking about light the other day, and having mattes and lights and sort of different effects over the vehicle does make it look different to having just a plain old spray matte varnish afterwards. Anyway, another thing I had, I actually painted the machine guns on the tank. There's 5 in total. I painted them with the metal colour, gunmetal colour from Vallejo, and to be honest, the gunmetal's a nice colour, but it didn't look right. It just, every time I looked at it, it just looked right. So what I did is I mixed some black, some Vallejo black, which was this one, which was black, and it's called Realms 22, but it's made of black. It's 70.950, and I used their satin varnish, which is this one, the satin varnish. I don't know if you saw the black one actually, because I don't know if I've got it in place. There you go, that one there, which is 70.950, and mixed it with 2 drops of black to 1 drop of varnish, the satin varnish, to give me that satin look I needed. And then I painted the guns very carefully then, and now, to be honest, they actually look better. Now I will mix some gunmetal and then dry brush it after getting the brush so empty of paint, is hardly anything there, just to give it that gunmetal-y sheen later on. But at the moment that's going to stay the way they are at the moment. Also, you might be able to see on the side, hanging on the side there, can you see that? If I do this, I'll hold it up. There's my beam. In my beam, it's metal on that side, metal on the other side, and I've also done the chains now, which I hadn't done last time. You might have seen it. So it's all done and ready to go, and it should fit lovely on the brackets at the back of the tank, with the cable being more or less the right length. And of course I won't know that until after I do it, but it seems to be the perfect place for it, so that's good. I shall put a double white glue when I do fix it in place, so it holds it there. rather than I might use modelling glue, I'm not sure, because it will stay there, but if I ever need to attach it and do any repair to the chains, at least I can do it that way, but if it's in wood glue. Anyway, so that's for later on. So that was done. Excuse me. So what's guns here? Oh yeah, and then I did some chipping before I done the actual truck the painted F4 on the top of the vehicles painted last. It was done this morning, before, just when I was up and early, before my hands were still pretty steady. So then I actually done some chipping around the vehicle. Now you may be able to see some, and I think you can, because I've actually looked. This is take 2 because I mucked up take 1, but I did see, you could see the chipping. So here you've got some little scrapes all around the vehicle in different places, not big ones, just a few, and chips around all the hatches that I can see on the sides. I didn't do anything to the top yet too much, because I need to get to that, but I will be doing that next. Just some chipping all the way around, and that looks nice. Now I had my Optivisor on, so when I was putting these little scrape lines on, I find they look massive under the visor. Of course I was a bit concerned, so I stopped, pulled my brush away, took my visor off, and well behoved, they were fine scrapes like I wanted, so that's good. I've also done a few around the front. One scrapes a little bit across the L, so it actually looks as if it's scraped on the L with the paintwork, because let's face it, you wouldn't get perfect decals everywhere. And I've actually done some chips around the bracket, the towing cable at the front. There'll be a bit more around on the main bit later on, but I actually done some chips around that. I prefer to go lightly at first, going around the vehicle, spotting places, doing that, and then I can go back in and do a bit heavier chipping with my little sponge, which I still kept over here. Might have to be a new bit of sponge soon, but there it is, my little sponge for doing chips. And I will do a few more chips later on, but not too hard. I'm in places where I know the wear and tear would be there. So that's that. What else was there to talk about? Oh yeah, my next bit will obviously now to be doing a bit more dirtying up once I've finished my chipping. And the one thing I've got to do before I do any mud effects or dirty effects over the vehicle and dust layers is I've got to paint the exhaust pipe a rusty-ish colour. I was going to just paint it metal colour, but I thought no, it's pointless. That is, it really needs to be rusty, because they would have got rusty. The metals they would have used in them days would have, after the heat got through them, they would have rusted once they got a bit of moisture at night time. That type of thing, condensation, would eventually rusted off. If you remember old cars, my very first car, I had an Austin A40, and going back a bit that is, and the exhaust pipe was rusty as hell. It just did, and yet I've got and that car was only about 15 years old then, but now my car I've got now is just coming up, because it will get replaced sometime in the future. It's just come up to was it it's about 12 years old, and the exhaust pipe's as good as it was, because the metals are different. So metals with them were prone to fatigue a lot more quicker, I'd say. That's my personal opinion, just knowing about the exhaust pipes from my first car to what it is now, with a similar length of life. So there you go. So a lot of different things actually happened since then. So I'll be rusting that up. I'll be going for a dark bit of rust paint first, and then gradually bringing some light areas around different areas. But anyway, that normally takes shape as I'm doing it, because it's one of those things you can always go back and dab a bit more. So I'll be doing some chipping first, and then going around doing some rusting on the exhaust pipe. Now this video now is where I've gone back into my spray booth area, where I've got a little Velux window, and it gives me natural light. And I've got a light at this end shining this way, but it gives me natural light as well during the day. So this is a much better. What you're seeing, the colour you're seeing there, is near enough bang on what I see when I'm actually looking at the vehicle. So there you go. So that's good. Oh, also I did where the actual feds were on the actual slack adjusters for the track. I've actually done both sides, inside and out. A little bit of grey, this colour, which is what, not that colour. Where is it? Oh, it's gone now. I use a German grey for the actual chips, and you can see what I mean. But I've done some in there because it would have worn, and I'm going to put some greasy colour in there. I'm going to put a bit of a shiny grease work inside there when I do it, so it looks as if it's had a bit of, not too shiny, just enough to make it look as if it's a bit of a grease inside there, where they greased it up so they can use it a bit easier. I have chipped around every point where there's attachments, where cables could have been attached on, because they would have got chipped anyway because of cables. Paint would have come off quite quickly, and they would have turned to rust a little bit as well. So I'll be doing little bits fine rust in that area. So as I said so far, the decals called me a little flutter for the top one at the driver's hatches, but eventually I got there, and when I do a little bit of weathering around that, it'll look as if it's been one of the decals put on there anyway, hopefully. So, but anyway, So that is the end of this one, and thank you very much for watching. Oh crumbs, yeah, just remembered. Small did I notice, I haven't been looking at the your subscriber numbers, but I've actually got up to 100, which is really fantastic for me, because I've only been doing really seriously going on YouTube for the last since well, February time, I think to say. When Switcher got me involved, I think that's when it was. Or it was the beginning of the year in for Christmas. I think it was the beginning of the year when we first started, and that was the first time he actually popped my cherry, as he calls it. So thank you very much for all the subscribers. I'm really grateful, and I hope you enjoy the videos in the future. And I've seen a few YouTube people that actually do a giveaway, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till I get to 250, because I think that's a serious, reasonable number to do it, and then I'll be giving a sort of a giveaway then. But anyway, when I just randomly select someone from the pile without looking, or get my wife to pick someone. But we'll do say, there is a random number I think that someone Twitter used. Might try that on YouTube, on yours, and see how it goes. Anyway, but that's when you get to 250. I've got to think I must probably never get there. But anyway, but here we go. So, but thank you very much for all of those people that have been subscribing to my channel, because there are so many other great modelers out there, really great modelers that you could be looking at. And just pleased that you come and look at my little humble bits and pieces. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. I'll just do a quick twirl of this one so you can see a bit more there. I had to do it by hand. I didn't use electronic. Well, I will use electronic twirly later when I get near and finished, when the track's on. There we go. And I'm going to come back and so there you go. So it finishes over this side. There you go. There it's done. Right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.